Detective Tufts watched the water from the tide pool lap over the dead woman's body. She was bloated and deformed, but not so terribly that a relative couldn't identify her. Maybe 2-3 days in the water. She might even have been cute, he thought to himself. Hard to tell. The water lapped against her naked body. Long ago he had stopped asking himself why, and now only considered who. Why was something he never could figure, even when they told him. Besides, why wasn't his job. Who was?
Chapter 1. A sickly smell of death dragged me from my dreaming. Waking from the unmistakably sick, sweet smell, I sniffed at the carpet under my nose. Negative. The girl, her remarkably beautiful nude body, lay still on the rug, partially wrapped in a blanket kept near for such doings. Parted lips dared me to take one last kiss as I pondered snipping a lock of her perfect blonde hair. Would my kiss bring her to life? Prince Charming at your service. I bent closer to her face.
Christ! She cried as her eyes popped open. What are you doing? Are you some kind of perv?
No. She stood, leaving me squatting naked. A perfect portrayal of a pervert.
Really? Tiffany checked her watch. From Tiffany & Company, of course. Jesus, what's that smell?
Coffee, I offered.
No. She jumped in her jeans, stuffing her panties in the rear pocket. Shit, I'm gonna be late for my shoot.
Can I call you later?
No, she smiled. I had a great time. She jiggled into her knit top. But I'm not into relationships.
Me neither. But, maybe we could do the takeout and cognac thing again.
The sex was good, Digby. She arched her back, stretching, jutting her pelvis with a nibbling distance. Perv.
So?
So, if we did it again, that would be a relationship, wouldn't it? She rooted in the sofa cushions, fished out a purse, and slung it over her shoulder. Ta!
Once more wouldn't count if we... Pitiful Phelps.
Hey, you got lucky. Count your blessings.
Bending, she awarded me a kiss on the crown of my head and made for the door.
And good Lord, do something about that smell, will ya?
She bounced up the gangway and was gone. Plugging in the coffee pot, I found a pair of shorts hanging from the fridge handle. Turned the telephone machine on. The odor was invading the boat through the sliding doors leading to the aft deck. It was not going to go away on its own. Low tide. What time is it? The sun hanging high over the hills of the East Bay. A single red-tailed hawk lazed above in a loose circle in the early spring sky, unaware of the world below. 3 of Sausalito's small fleet of party boats had already returned from the morning's fishing trips and tied up to the neighboring dock. Good God, it stank. No wonder. The dead cat's name used to be, Salty. And so he was. He was the unofficial mascot of our marina, and the fat faker never met a handout he didn't like. The black Persian's carcass lay in the hardening mud beyond the aft deck, clotted blood dimming the tide's final trickle with a burgundy vein. I thought to find out what happened to the beggar. Moving closer, I surveyed the matted fur on the feline's bloated corpse and decided there was only one thing to do. Barf! Hanging as far as I dared over the worn rope railing, I dredged up mementos of the previous evening's entertainment. Egg drop soup. Oh, God, Lord have mercy. Moose shoe pork. Oh, God, Christ have mercy. Sweet and sour sauce. Oh, God, Lord have mercy. 4 bottles of Beijing beer, a 5th of VSOP, and a dead cat as an eye-opener. Breathing deep, I straightened so that I might properly petition all the angels and saints to intercede, now in the hour of my death.
Tough night?
Is that you, God?
You look a little peaked.
A manly voice from the dock on the starboard side said. Huh? Turning, I was blinded by my dripping sweat and the sun shining in an aura around the stranger.
That your cat? What happened to it?
God, don't know, just that he appears to be...
Dead? You live here?
Who are you? I was going to live. We like to mind our own business around here.
Yeah, well...
He flipped some sort of wallet thing open to display something I was supposed to be impressed by, but could not see for the sun rays frying my eyeballs.
Detective Tufts, I'm paid to mind everybody's business.
I didn't kill the cat, I said.
Never said you did.
The man got the last word in before marching down the wooden pier. A warm aroma of rotting cat blew my way. I bent to gag again as the telephone rang inside. Chapter 2.
Digby, Joni's voice chirped. Oh, Digby Phelps, time to rise, digger. It's 10:30 and I've let you sleep as long as I can. Be a good boy and pick up the telephone.
Stepping over my suit, briefcase, and the Chinese takeout cartons from the previous night's festivities, I reached for the phone on the galley counter. "Phelps here," I said, in the best baritone I could muster.
Good try, Diggs. Pretty scratchy sounding, but a good try. Schroeder wants you to know you've been moved up and are the featured speaker at 6 o'clock this evening. Then both of you are dining with Mr. Martinez at Le Bistro at 8.
What's the dinner about?
Find out at dinner. Eric insists on calling him Herr Hernandez. I'll remind him before I leave today, and you remind him again at the restaurant. Who's yesterday's lady, by the way? Is she entirely real?
Almost. It's dangerous to date someone named Tiffany, Joni. They're born with unrealistic expectations.
I'll keep that in mind if I ever decide to bat on the other team. Diggs, drink something healthy. You sound like a foghorn.
Szechuan food last night and a dead cat this morning.
I'm above the obvious joke here, Diggs.
Good for you. May I ask a favor, Joni?
Let me guess. Tiffany was expensive. I'll squeeze you out one more advance, and I'll leave it with Schroeder.
Thank you, Joni. You're...
Save your salesmanship, Phelps. Your topic tonight is AAA bonds. Have we ever handled those?
Absolutely, I lied. All the time. No self-respecting bond with safety on his mind would ever venture near Schroeder Capital Limited, my place of employ. We did have one in the neighborhood once. It was in a widow's handbag as she entered St. Mary's across the street. Even at that distance, though, we could smell it.
Sure, Digby. I believe. Good luck tonight. I mean, break a leg.
Sipping from a jug of either thick vegetable juice or watery soup, I hunted for my sweatsuit. Speaking at the San Francisco Investment Fair, I could declare the advantages of rock-solid bonds while collecting names for future shares in the more adventurous investment vehicles put together by the inventive mind of Eric Schroeder, my boss. My job is looking trustworthy, sounding wise, and acting honest. Like all great theater, it is harder than it looks. My acting career may have stalled at the training film level, but I can look an audience in their collective eye, scratch my graying temples, wipe my glasses, intone sincerely about most anything, as long as it's on the cue cards. The details of the deal are Schroeder's domain. I just bring the bodies in the door, a Judas goat with a dressy wardrobe. The white Boomerang, my beloved Jaguar, was in no mood to start, so I decided on an easy 3-mile jog to the gym. Before I reached Club Physique, for classique physiques, as your narrator intones in the welcoming video, I had slowed down to a saunter.
Getting tired of running?
A voice I vaguely recognized said,
It was Detective Tufts, cruising by in a red TVR Sagaris.
a car I always admired. Not at all, I said, continuing my pace as he cruised alongside of me, just getting my second wind. Where the hell does a detective get a car like that?
Good. You might need it, he said, then tipped his hat and drove off.
I wanted to yell after him, "Are you following me?" But that would sound paranoid, which, quite frankly, I was very slowly beginning to feel. I shook my head to clear it and turned my attention back to Club Physique, where the beautiful people were trying to stay beautiful. It being Wednesday morning, my more driven neighbors were off chasing Mr. Dollar Sign in as many guises, leaving the club nearly deserted. Dear Therese was not working the counter. She's with someone, somewhere in Mexico, so I signed in and got past the front counter without a critique of my green coloration. 2-mile swim, some light weight work, a sauna. Soon I would emerge, clear and energetic, and something else. I forgot.
What's your name?
She asked in a soft voice with a tint of the South. Very pretty, black as a berry, 5'2", 105 probably, perfectly attired for the sauna in a white terry towel. My name? Digby. Digby Phelps. She was far too friendly to be a regular. Talking in the sauna? Between the sexes? Never.
I'm Shayna.
Beautiful, moist, pink lips, straight, shoulder-length hair, wide, liquid brown eyes.
I'm visiting from Louisiana.
Lucky California. Are you here long?
Only till Monday. I'm going to Japan for a modeling job.
Lucky Japan, I said. How about dinner, then? I'd like to do my part in making you welcome. Am I smooth?
Is that so?
She laughed, the point of her tongue and her upper lip pure pink against the dark sheen of her skin.
Do you always extend yourself like that?
She was having an obvious effect on me. Yes, her legs were smooth and firm. Whenever I can.
Are you Sausalita's official greeter?
Was she looking at my lap? Yes, we are. No, I am not Smooth.
Where do you live?
I will settle for being lucky. I have a houseboat at the marina just down the road.
Really? Sounds cozy.
Never had cozy promised such carnality. It can be, I said. Deep breath, Digby. Shayna, would you be my guest for a glass of champagne?
Where?
She tugged at the towel at her breasts. When I was learning to drive, she was still in diapers. The Valhalla. I made it sound like a famous restaurant.
That's the name of your boat? She laughed. Isn't it?
It's a very nice boat.
Sounds fun.
She stood and stretched.
I just need to make a quick phone call to check on my flight.
I'll meet you out front. It's a short walk home.
I have a car.
Even better, I said. We smiled at each other's eyes. Looking back, it's an easy thing to pinpoint that exact moment as the one that changed our lives. It felt like excitement at the time. The drive to the marina was sunny and blue as we cruised slowly in a new convertible, singing to an Elvis Presley tape I found wedged in the dashboard. We can't go on, suspicious minds. How true, I'm sure. Valhalla was sitting smartly in the water, a 2-level floating home with vintage redwood design. She's a handcrafted wonder of leaded glass and ornately carved gewgaws. The aft deck doors depict the Mad Hatter and his tea party, while the lower head is a wooden melange in a mushroom and a marijuana leaf motif that inspires all of us who use the facilities to exit with a groovy or a far out. Blowing my renovation fund by paying for the blueprints, I settled in and let the place become home in spite of itself. I am now certain, given our popular culture, that it is only a matter of time before the Valhalla is discovered as the folk masterpiece it truly is. The unknown Burlwood Master of Marin. Don't miss the gift shop.
Oh, I love your place, Digby.
Have a look around. I'll pop a bottle of bubbly. My spine was tingling, my wit sharpening, my eyes lighting up. Ah, the eternal woman, each layer unfolding. This is actually the way my mind works. Are you lonely tonight? I found the CD I was looking for. Are your PJs too tight? I crooned along as the cork bounced off the light fixture over the dining table. Is your nightie a sight?
Those aren't the words, are they? Shayna turned at the foot of the stairs. What's up there?
The captain's quarters. I poured slowly into 2 flutes. Care to have a look?
Maybe later.
She smiled with her pink tongue again. Cheers and welcome to the Valhalla. I believe the meaning of life can be found in a woman, and it is a glory to wait and watch the unveiling.
Cheers.
She came to me, arching up and pouting for a kiss. This younger generation, no patience. She tasted of cold champagne and warm tongue. Digby Jr. tried to join in.
I knew we were gonna screw when I first saw you. She giggled.
You did? I sounded like an amazed Boy Scout. Kiss and shut up, Phelps.
Especially when I saw you in your towel.
She smiled and stepped back, whipping her fuzzy little sweater off in an instant. Shooting champagne out of my nostrils seemed to be the most appropriate response. Me too, I tried. I mean, the thought had crossed my mind, of course. Her short denim skirt hit the floor, leaving her standing in the tiniest white panties that I have ever had presented to me. The unveiling was moving along in record time.
Aren't you gonna get naked too? Shayna asked, lifting her glass in a salute.
Things are moving just a little fast, young lady. Absolutely. Draining my glass, I threw off my sweats as Shayna pranced around the main room. Sex Shayna style had a decidedly direct approach. Almost professional. I'm not a big kiss and tell man, but what the hell. We acted out every schoolboy's wet dream. This girl had gone through school on a track scholarship. It could be proved by bouncing a dime off her butt. Her breasts were gravity-defying and firm. Pert is the term from the gentle porn of my youth. Other terms for your delectation are juicy, throbbing and thrusting, turgid and snug. Throw in boat rocking and muscular and moist. Seriously. I can report that I gave a good showing for our side. Digby, too, eagerly entered the fray, holding up his end of the bargain and doing as proud as the lady displayed a high degree of grinding satisfaction and cries of approval. Must have a chat with her about the tendency sound has to travel across the water, however. Has lovemaking ever been so delightful for you that you found yourself regretting its finale while you were still in the midst of it? Was I hoping to steal her youth? Was I a randy old goat, or was I embracing life? Was I asking too many questions?
Oh, baby, she moaned. Baby, more. Give it all to me, more.
I couldn't have written better lines for her.
It's so damn big.
Okay, maybe I imagined that one.
Now, Diggy, now.
Women love to play with my name. Softly rocking to our finish, Shayna was on top of me, gazing at the bay as I pondered her mystery and breathed deep of her scent. I was having an epiphany. Is love random or fated?
This is a cool view of the bay from here.
Short epiphany.
Hey, she shouted. That kid's peeping at us.
Jumping from astride me with a suctional pop, she leapt to the bathroom in a bounding jump. It's only the boy from the grocery, I called to her. Jimmy, the teenager from the Marina store, had laid planks out across the mud flat and was bending to place the dead salty in a burlap bag. He had frozen in that position when he saw the Shayna and Digby love act. Live. The kid will probably have fantasies of nubile Nubians for the next 50 years. His eyes were bulging wide with a look frozen somewhere between disbelief and horror. Stepping to the window, I bowed to our rapt audience of one and was about to lower the bamboo blinds when I saw another figure in the distance. It waved. I focused and recognized the hat. It was Detective Tufts. He was beginning to piss me off and scare me. I lowered the bamboo blinds. Coast is clear, I called. Come out, wherever you are. Geezerdom may be closer than I think.
Groovy toilet, Digby, she said, laughing and relaxed in her nakedness. Were you a hippie when you were young?
How old do you think I am? It didn't sound as offhand as it should have.
Old enough, she smiled. Can I spend the night here with you?
Absolutely, I said. Who could refuse? Chapter 3. We just finished up the investment fair and went back to the office. I work in a beautiful building, the interior and exterior smelling of money. Somehow, my boss Eric had inveigled a bank large enough to fund the complete renovation of a neglected building. It is a beauty. The immense limestone columns and rooftop flagpole adding an air of righteous rectitude to our activities. Our genial staff stands ready to service you. Cup of tea or a dollop of Madeira? Loan you an umbrella for the rain or the entire building for your charity event? Certainly. All with a smile and a wink, totally genuine. From the 5'2", red-haired, green-eyed, genteel, generous, and greedy Eric Schroeder, founder of the firm. You know that the really hot investments aren't offered to just anybody who walks in off the street and hands their money to some rookie stockbroker, don't you? The really new, big ideas can't be found at the huge national investment firms now, can they? Of course not. They're kept quiet. Available to a handful of select investors who get in early and take a position before the mob comes running cash in hand. That's when the smart money people grab their profits and move on to the next ground floor opportunity. Do you know that there are still untapped reserves near the original Comstock lode? That Brazilian scientists are developing a new source of liquid protein? That an unsung stable deep in Tennessee may well be training the next Triple Crown winner? As we speak? How about those new beachfront condos planned for Alaska? How's that for marketing genius? Want to learn more? Come by the office with me for a cup of coffee. Perhaps Mr. Schroeder will be in. You'll like him. That's Schroeder Capital Limited. At Bush and Kearney in the old firehouse number 6, a registered historic landmark.
You really cast a wide net today, didn't you? Eric said.
I was admiring the polished soles of Eric's shoes propped on the desk in front of me. There were some quality prospects at this thing, I said. We should do it again next year. Oscar came up the elevator with a tray of martinis. Oscar was a recent hire and very quickly became Eric's right-hand man. Manservant, butler, and confidant. He worked way too hard for my taste, and he was a good deal younger than me. Always scary when one is approaching middle age.
Dry and extra dry,
He said as we reached for the drinks.
Thought I'd call it a day if there's nothing else.
He slid an envelope to Eric. It had my initials and Joni's hand on the front. A little cash advance to keep me going. He glanced at the pile of business cards we collected at the investment fair as Eric grabbed one and waved it.
Alicia Kincaid St. Alwyn? Eric leered.
Oscar put down the tray of martinis, his eyes greedy little slits, and slid back out the door.
That one's not business, I said, taking the card from him. Purely pleasure. We're lunching day after tomorrow. The lucky lady.
Lucky you is more like it, Eric sighed. Kincaid paper, St. Alwyn wines. Very rich, Diggs. Very.
Very pretty, too, I said, sipping. Oscar makes a superb martini. And very sweet. She said I did quite well with some very dry material.
Serves you right for snatching your speech from the internet. How pretty.
So pretty that I didn't recognize the family names until just now. 5'10", slim, elegant, auburn hair. Looks like a princess. Serene and bemused.
Got news for you, Diggs. In our country, she is a princess.
I casually stretched my hand towards the envelope.
By the way, being born with a few million already parked in your bank account makes anyone serene and bemused. Nice change for you, though. Beats your usual combination of hysterical and sarcastic. He casually slid the envelope out of range.
I'm growing and maturing, I said. A vision of the young and naked Shayna waiting at the Valhalla came to me. At my own pace.
You're 40 years old. Eric speared the olive from his glass. No more fantasies of playing pro ball or being a movie star. Time to settle down. Get a spread in Mill Valley. Sire Digby III.
Fourth, I said. I'm the third. He's known it since we went to St. Ignatius High.
I lose track. Here, I think this is for you. He slowly slid the envelope over the polished mahogany. Shall we go schmooze with Herr Hernandez?
It's Martinez, Eric. He was up and at the elevator. Alfonso Martinez. Okay?
Did you happen to notice, though,
The elevator's mahogany, too.
that he answered to Hernandez when I called him that last time?
South American manners, I explained.
And the German accent?
There's always been a lot of Germans in Argentina, I decided. Probably grew up hearing it around the neighborhood.
Following that theory, you and I should be speaking Italian.
We're okay doing biz with him, aren't we? I like to check from time to time. Legally and all.
Absolutely. Eric says it the way I do, drawing it out. Perhaps not totally admirable, but certainly legal enough.
That was the most Schroeder had ever admitted to in front of me. Le Bistro's location, across the street from our building, was responsible for the reincarnation of our humble structure. The firehouse presented its potential to Eric during a long and liquid lunch with our then mayor and said mayor's social tutor, Bunny Walden. Bunny piloted Eric in dazzling the landmark board, seducing the loan committee, and unwinding in Maui afterwards. The matching redhead dervishes had been a whirling item ever since. Upon entering Le Bistro, where we planned to meet Alfonso, Sammy, our usual waiter, eschewed the maitre d' and whooshed us off to our usual table, an elegant booth in the corner, so we would not be disturbed or overheard.
Hello, gentlemen. What shall we pour this splendid evening? Sammy's wide pink face was set off by his bright white dentures, white hair, and white chest-high apron. I'm recommending Negronis.
A plate of oysters, too, if you don't mind, Sammy. We're expecting company. Diggs will give you the nod when he walks in. I forget what he looks like.
Very well, Sammy replied.
And gave me a nod and a smile, as though he and I were now partners in crime.
Look, Digby, I have him down for a unit in the Gold Town deal. And I'm pretty sure this dinner is his way of passing on it before he flies out tonight. I'm not about to let him off the hook, though.
What should I do?
No offense, Diggs,
Eric said as he patted me on the shoulder.
but don't do a thing. Especially if there's a long and uncomfortable pause. Don't make a peep.
I can do that, I said. My pride was more than a little pricked, but all I knew of the Gold Town deal came from some smeared napkin sketches and one fast meeting with the idea man, a crazed Kiwi promoter who had banged on the door of every adventurous bank on both coasts before his discovery by, or was it of, Schroeder. The idea was to build a theme park in the boonies, the gold rush reenacted for all the suburbanites who missed the first one, but with log flume rides, corn dogs, and plenty of restrooms this time around. 25 units at $1 million per, and only one unit left, according to Schroeder.
Sammy returned with the oysters and Negronis.
I took a sip before it had time to settle. It was icy, smoothly bitter.
Shit, Schroeder said. A prospect bearing gifts.
Sammy and I followed Eric's gaze to Martinez at the door.
Parting gifts, Sammy said. Never a good omen for a deal, gentlemen.
Alfonso had a half-dozen bags from the better shops. Smiling and waving, we groaned to each other as he approached.
Hello, my friends.
Alfonso took our hands in his and shook.
So good to see you.
he said, as Sammy pulled out his chair so he would be facing us on the wall behind the booth.
First, I have a gift for you. Alfonso oozed charm. His polished nails drummed on the linen pensively, the low light bouncing off his silver hair and dove-gray silk suit. His face had been freshly tightened and his silver mustache perfectly barbered.
He looked either 50 or 90. I couldn't decide.
For you, Digby.
It was an expensively wrapped shoebox. Italian.
Please.
He held my hand.
Open it at home.
Thank you, Alfonso, I said, oddly wondering if it held slippers or a bomb.
This, he said, reaching into the jewelry store bag, is for you, Eric.
He sounded more German than I'd remembered.
Thank you, Adolfo, Eric let slip, unwrapping a fountain pen known for its cost. I'll think of you every time I write a big check.
Or endorse one, I added.
Mr. Schroeder, Alfonso began seriously.
Uh-oh.
I am afraid that I have some bad news and wish to clear the air, as they say, before we dine.
Forgive me, but I must interrupt, Schroeder said gravely. It's about the Gold Town project.
You have bad news? Alfonso asked.
I am afraid so, my friend, Eric said. May I be very candid with you?
He played with the cap of the pen as Alfonso and I hunched forward. A whiff of garlic floated by our table.
Please. Martinez spread his hands on the linen. Be candid.
The firm greatly values your friendship and your business. We feel, however, that it may be too early in our relationship for us to make this leap together. Digby and I have discussed this at length.
Eric nodded solemnly at me.
And we would prefer waiting until we know each other better. Let's let this deal pass.
I see. Alfonso squared his shoulders, appraising Eric.
Please give us your word that you'll forget Gold Town, that you won't let it become the big one that got away. There'll be other opportunities, won't there, Digby? Eric was all sincerity, open-faced and earnest.
I was impressed with my boyhood chum and thought of a clever way to stress his point. He shot me a quick kick as a reminder to stay silent. I nodded.
But Alfonso leaned even closer across the table. We've made money together, haven't we? The cattle futures went beautifully, did they not? You made money too, correct?
Yes, the firm made a profit, I believe, Eric said. There have been no complaints.
I was losing track of who was selling whom. Keeping Mum was easy.
Then why don't you want me in the Gold Town deal?
Alfonso seemed more hurt than angry.
It's not that, Eric comforted him. It's just that it's not for the faint of heart. The air at our table turned suddenly cool, and all background noise vanished. Silence. I was a statue. So was the gently smiling Eric.
More silence. Sammy approached our table, pad in hand. And more silence.
How many units are left?
1, Eric said. It sounded final and true.
I want it.
It's $1 million cash, Eric warned. No notes.
I will wire transfer the money to your account from New York tomorrow. Alfonso held his steady hand out to Eric.
A pause, and a final slice of the silence.
Welcome aboard, Alfonso, Eric sighed in surrender. You're a hard man to say no to.
I took a gulp from my glass, and Alfonso patted me on the back in relief. We celebrated over dinner, Alfonso insisting on being the host, and deposited the newest Gold Town partner into a taxi for the airport, sincerely wishing him a safe trip. Schroeder and I were waiting for another cab when a silver BMW Z4 Roadster pulled up and the window rolled down.
Nice dinner? Detective Tufts asked, smiling.
Schroeder shot me a look. Very nice, I said to Tufts.
Glad to hear it. It's good to know you're living well. And he zoomed off.
Who was that? Schroeder asked.
Oh, just the guy I met at the gym. New acquaintance.
Nice car, Eric said.
Then he tapped the wrapped box in my hand.
Enjoy your shoes.
Thanks. Wonderful moves, champ, I said as the taxi pulled up.
Think he was good for 2 units?
He asked as I got in the taxi. What difference would it make? I puzzled. There was only one left. Wasn't there?
Concentrate on your lunch date, Diggs, he said, shaking his head. Fall in love with her. Get married and live off an allowance.
He went back into La Bistro as the cab pulled away from the curb, heading for Sausalito and my rematch with Shayna. But Shayna wasn't on my mind anymore. Detective Tufts was. Why was he following me, and how does a detective get cars like that? Was he a detective? He showed me a badge. What does that mean? Chapter 4. 6'2", 190. I'm in good shape. I try and knock off a 3-mile swim a couple of times a week and keep the Panatellas down to 2 a day. Tops. Still.
Oh, give it to me, Shayna squealed.
I am, I squealed in reply. The sun wasn't up, but I was for the 5th time since meeting my track star at the front door in a birthday suit. Sex as an athletic event. I wasn't complaining, but the thought that she had a flight to catch soon had occurred to me more than once.
Let's do that again, she moaned after an interlude of deep sleep.
I began collecting couplings in my mental scrapbook as insurance against a doddering old age. Sometime between positions 41 and 5, Shayna went in the upstairs bath, and I escaped downstairs. I dialed the office. How much will I be missed today, Joni?
Oh, we've written you off for the day, Diggs. Let me give you to Eric. By the way, it's 3 o'clock.
Eric picked up on the speakerphone. Oscar is with us, Eric said. He's very much a part of us now.
Bully for you, Oscar. We fully welcome you aboard, and presume your discretion is as good as Eric's.
Why, thank you, Mr. Phelps.
I'm having a house guest, so let us speak softly and carry a big stick.
Not your lady from the fair, Eric asked in surprise.
No. I was sorry to disappoint him. More of a layover situation.
Thought you were aiming for a woman of substance, Eric said.
She's 23. It's a temporary thing.
What, being 23?
Yeah, that too. Thanks for the advance check last night.
Spend it fast. I like it when you're motivated. Do the shoes fit?
The what? I looked at my bare feet.
The gift from last night, Diggs. Don't tell me you lost it.
Oh, right. I picked up the box from the galley counter where I had flung it at the sultry sight of Shayna the night before. Let's see what I have here. I slipped the ribbon off the lid.
Diggs, I really believe in the Gold Town project, Eric said. More than you know.
I know you... Holy Christmas, I said.
Are you having a religious vision? Oscar asked over the speakerphone.
I think so, I said. It's cash. This box is full of cash. I mean, it's full.
What are they, Diggs? Oscar asked.
God, I said, riffling through the tight packets of crisp new bills. They're hundreds. All hundreds. Benjamin Franklin has come to live on the Valhalla.
Diggs, you should have 61 grand in that box. Congratulations. It wasn't entirely strange that Eric knew nearly the exact amount the shoebox of C-notes would total.
Shayna appeared for 1 second and said, I'm going to get wet.
I blew her a kiss as she turned around and went back upstairs. Is this mine to keep, Eric? Are you okay with that?
It's all yours, Diggs. You've earned a bonus. Alfonso and I have done very well together, thanks to your introduction.
Does that mean you'll be giving me a shoebox, too?
No.
You don't have to give me an answer right away, Eric.
Eric chuckled.
I have to be a good host, I said. See you tomorrow.
Save some charm and cash for your lunch tomorrow with Alicia Kincaid-St. I, Diggs. She's the very real thing.
If you've run a Dun & Bradstreet on her, I said, I honestly don't want to know.
That's the sickening thing about you, he said. You probably don't.
I phoned the Marina store, and Jimmy took my request for a case of champagne, a box of Panatellas, and the total of my past due account. His father, the owner of the store, grabbed the phone and angrily recited the amount from memory. Hey, pal, it wasn't my fault the wife left you. I seldom voice such thoughts.
Digby,
My gymnast called from the shower.
come get wet with me.
I turned up the music, stashed the cash, and followed my dick upstairs. Shayna was a slippery, soapy seal under the spray, the sudsy clouds pure white against her ebony skin. Our synchronized shower routine scored a 10 from all the judges, and I performed a perfect dismount before she left me on my own to rinse.
Digby.
He was my gold medalist at the bathroom door, wrapped in a white towel with another as a turban. Sexy. Again?
It's the boy who saw us screwing. He's at the door.
Sweet girl. I made a mental note to spend some time in real conversation with her. It's Jimmy from the store. Let him in, okay? I'll be right down. Pulling on last night's trousers and an ancient polo shirt, I went down to the sight of a kneeling Jimmy staring up at Shayna, supervising his placement of the champagne bottles in the fridge. She wore a T-shirt of mine. Wore it well. And sandy-haired, slow-eyed Jimmy was in love, or awe, or shock. Shayna tousled his hair for a job well done, and he glowed 3 new shades of red. Why not? He was nearer her age than me.
Diggs, is there a place we can order some Chinese?
Dongs, Jimmy loudly volunteered.
As I fished out a bag of chipped ice. Hongs? I asked.
Right, hongs. Jimmy began to melt, his eyes bulging white as he stowed the remaining bottles in the cupboard under the counter.
Just hit the phone button marked Gao, I said, filling a bucket with ice and water and nestling a bottle in it.
I didn't really see anything yesterday, Mr. Phelps, Jimmy said at the door.
Our naked floor review had made an impression.
There's nothing to feel nasty about, Jimmy, Shayna said.
That's not what my dad would say.
I gave the boy $200 for my newfound booty, and told him to keep one for all the times I was broke and hadn't tipped him, and to give the other to his father to put towards my account at the store, which was long overdue. Valhalla rolled faintly with the incoming tide. Tell me about yourself, Shayna, I finally asked, after we'd laid out the food in front of the fireplace. What's your dream?
She was sitting cross-legged on a hassock,
wearing a black silk shirt and a pair of woolly socks of mine that had never looked better.
My dream? A sweet, spontaneous, let's be honest, kid.
Your dream. Everyone has one. Wanting to know more about this vibrant and free young woman who had dropped into my life before she flew away. I never imagined my attraction and affection to be so little, so late.
I've wanted to act my whole life.
Don't we have enough actors yet? All 20-odd years?
Most of them. The firelight played on her cheekbones as she speared a tofu chunk with the end of a chopstick.
After Japan, I'm really doing it. I'm using the money to go to New York to study. I've seen some of your theater books. Were you an actor?
Years ago, I reminisced. Still do some film work when the movie comes through town. Never had my work in crowd scenes sounded so glamorous.
I need to put together a monologue to use in auditions. Can you help me?
Her nipples suddenly went erect under the black silk shirt. Of course. I took a gulp of champagne and she smiled wide at me. The Digby Phelps School of Acting had finally found my calling. Special scholarships available.
I mean, I'm not ready for Shakespeare.
I would point her in the right direction. Stay put, I said. I know just the script. We rehearsed. Truly. I'm not going to say that the combination of her scant clothing, sexier than nudity, firelight, wine, and enthusiasm didn't inspire lust on the part of the director. The maestro made every attempt to channel his desire to the service of art. Steeling myself, I drilled my prodigy through 3 scene readings before sending her upstairs, alone, to rehearse her lines as I set up my tape machine and hit a microphone.
Digby?
She called from my bedroom.
I think I'm ready.
Digby Jr. stirred at her voice, eager for future role. Let's get to work, I instructed Digby Jr., and then Shayna made her entrance and stood near the door. I punched the button that rolled the tape through the machine. Forget we're recording this, I said. Quiet on the set. Ready. Action. I scissored my fingers at her and she smiled.
I've never met a guy like you, she sighed. Up till now, I've always been the one to walk away without looking back. I've never thought twice about the guys left scratching their heads.
Okay, so I wanted to hear it, but it is a great little scene. The originator of the role won an Obie, and casting directors love bits that pander to their ego. Like real people.
Be honest,
she had asked, and I was. You're a natural, I told her. You can do this piece. It fits you like a glove. Want to hear it again?
One more time. She took the shirt off. While we do it.
We did. Her lovesick monologue playing in the background inspired my performance, and when she went upstairs, I happily pushed a few buttons on the stereo and went to the fridge.
Diggy, can we take a bubble bath?
Absolutely, I agreed, and popped a bottle of bubbly. Chapter 5. I remained dead still and face down on the bed as the complete quiet of the early morning taunted me. Shutting my eyes, I willed a sound to drift upstairs from below. Shayna making some coffee. Shayna on the telephone. Shayna clearing her throat. My, it was totally quiet. A wise inner voice asked, Digby, who is the biggest fucking idiot alive on the planet today? That was the question of the hour. A fat, dirty gull landed atop a high piling outside my bedroom window and began laughing at me to break the silence. The grand prize winner came to mind as I stirred myself. The biggest idiot alive on the planet today is Digby Phelps of Sausalito, California. Come on down, Digby. Empty rooms, empty Valhalla, empty champagne bottles and Chinese takeout cartons, empty cupboard, empty of a very full shoebox. I sank to the sofa, feeling ill in the blank. Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. $60,000. My eye went to an empty spot on the mantel. Correction. $60,000 and a 1958 vintage signed baseball from the first Giants game at Candlestick. Insult on top of injury for the idiot. I may owe my neighbors an apology, running to the parking lot, hair on end and shower thongs flapping. The asylum gate was left open, folks. Her car was still there, and I ran to it with expectations of foiling her imminent tire-smoking getaway, or graciously forgiving her in a moment of weakness, taking her under wing. Hell, I'd give her 5 or 3, make it $1,000. Digby understands. I leaned down and told the undisturbed dew on the window of the very empty auto. Why take the car? She could buy a new one. Then again, I tried to convince myself, maybe she's at the gym, in the sauna, with the money. Right. I turned, and a perfectly immaculate sky blue 1963 Caddy convertible pulled up with none other than Detective Tufts behind the wheel.
In a hurry again?
Nothing came to mind. Cops and beautiful cars do that to me.
Cat got your tongue?
The cat is dead, I said.
I know, he said with a smile, and drove off.
I wanted to scream after him, where the fuck do you get those cars? But luckily, I said nothing, and for once in my life thought I had made a wise decision.
I leave town for a few days, and you start picking up women in the sauna? I have my spies, Digby Phelps.
Therese wagged her finger at me from her station behind the reception desk. Therese and I have a history. She stood behind the counter looking radiant from a Mexico trip. Wild black hair to her shoulders, red tea with an embossed chili pepper.
Hey, are you all right? You look a little discombobulated.
Just a tad flustered, Therese. Do you, know a girl I met here? Shayna Stafford?
Why? Have you misplaced her?
No, it's just that she had to catch an early flight, and I need her home address or phone. She left her camera at the boat, and I want to get it to her. I'm lousy without a rehearsal.
God, Digby. The least you could do is fake a little interest in your conquests. Maybe ask them for their phone number. Sometimes it's a nice touch to promise that you'll call them.
This abuse is all included with the price of my membership, right?
I'll throw it in. Mr. Honorary Member. You're sure her last name is Stafford?
Pretty sure. Shaking her head, Therese went to the office, and I checked out the sauna, being a complete idiot. 3 naked jocks returned my stare.
Diggs, I don't have a Shayna Stafford listed exactly that way on the roster, but there are only 7 Staffords who are currently members in the Bay Area. Here's their telephone numbers and their billing addresses for 5 of them. I don't have the other 2. Shouldn't be hard to find the right one.
You, dear Therese, are a doll. How's the new beau?
Let's have dinner soon, Diggs, and catch up. I miss our talking.
I'll call this week. I miss talking to her, too.
I'll wait. She smiled. Call me.
Sticking the printout in my waistband, I jogged back to the marina, alternating, feeling hopeful and hopeless with each stride. Ignoring the palpable emptiness of the Valhalla, I whipped through a shower scene of Shayna's greatest portrayal. I was half dressed in a boring blue suit when I remembered my lunch date with Alicia Kincaid St. Alwyn. Getting together with a new woman might qualify as supreme idiocy, but this one sure as hell wouldn't steal from me, I told myself. Especially as I had nothing left to steal. Ha! Rifling through the dresser and a cigar box, I finally found a ferry ticket and $5 to finance my commute and did a final check in the closet mirror. Olive and deep blue was the scheme. Blazer, gabardines, black monk shoes, woven belt, a terrific tie. The reflection of my rumpled bed in the mirror reminded me that I was truly the world's reigning idiot. Looking sharp, though. I locked up, a little late for that, and headed for the 8:20 ferry. As long as I didn't fall overboard on the way to the city, the day had to get better. Sitting on the rear deck of the boat, I sipped a coffee and let a tourist family irritate the hell out of me with their snapping cameras and happy laughter. Didn't they know that I was out $60,000? People. Escaping to the main cabin, I asked the goateed server at the counter to build a Bloody Mary. He did not approve.
Little early, isn't it?
Christ. Those liquor bottles for decoration? I asked. Make it a double. I was about to pay with my last $5 bill when a voice that was beginning to send small shockwaves through my system said,
"I'll get that."
I turned, and there was Detective Tufts.
"And you can build me a Virgin Mary while you're at it," he said to the bartender.
He turned to me and smiled.
"I bet that's the first virgin you've seen in some time, Mr. Phelps."
"Most likely," I replied, feebly trying to one-up him.
"Nice day for a ferry ride. Don't get seasick, Mr. Phelps."
And he picked up his drink and walked off. Jutting near the water, the ruined walls of Alcatraz held the faded warning for all unauthorized vessels to stay clear or risk being fired upon. Was that an omen? A detective in Alcatraz being in the same line of sight? I was no sooner sitting at my desk when Schroeder's voice rang through the intercom.
$1 million landed in our account overnight. Where do you think it might have come from? Come to my office, Diggs. I want to kiss you.
My mood soared at the news, and the problem of my stolen $60,000 felt a nuisance level. I sprinted up the back staircase from my second-floor lair and was embraced at the top by a beaming Schroeder. My hero. It's for Martinez, isn't it?
The one and the only Alfonso. He's calling at noon before he flies out of JFK to Lima. $1 million smackaroos, Diggy. Paid in full. He made a dunking shot at an invisible hoop. Damn, I knew he would have been good for 2 units. The slick bastard.
Something about a bird in hand comes to mind, Eric.
Digby Phelps, a new voice for moderation. What is the world coming to?
I can tell you what the world is coming to, I said. Spilling the news about Shayna, my sociopathic sex bomb, would be easier with the arrival of Alfonso's large money.
God, she stole your Willie Mays ball, too? What kind of woman would do such a thing?
The stolen $60,000 kind of hurts, too, Eric.
Well, you can justify that. But the baseball? Is there anyone else in the world that a ball inscribed, Digby, keep swinging, Willie, would mean a damn thing to?
Help me here, Eric. How can losing $60,000 be justified?
Look at it this way. You poked her, what, a dozen times? Don't act like you can't remember. I think a dozen is being more than generous. What the hell? You're getting older.
I can't wait to see where this is going, I said. A dozen seemed very low.
So, you have a unit cost of $5,000 per, correcto?
And?
Dollar cost averaging, Diggs.
Eric gets exasperated with my loose grip on the fundamentals of portfolio management.
Account for all the women you've had for free. Think back, Diggs. It's been a long time for us all. Now, average your cost per poontang unit. You see? Same as when I buy more of a stock that's tanked on me. Now, what's your average cost per poke?
I'm still doing the math.
But down from $5,000 each, right?
Way down. I may be running your credit.
Are you counting that Mardi Gras trip?
Did I tell you about that?
I went with you. Bite the bullet, Diggs. Let it go.
I feel so stupid. I totally misread this girl.
And this is the first time?
Hardly, but this was so...
Look at it as a lesson. Remedial Life 101. You did pay full retail on the tuition, though.
Why would she take the baseball?
Some deep-seated hostility toward male figures. She figuratively stole your balls. A classic pattern of striking out.
Brilliant, Dr. Schroeder. Absolutely brilliant. You must present your findings to the Academy.
Thank you. Eric clicked his heels and bowed. Where's the big lunch today?
The Yacht Club. Exclusive, but casual.
You can go back there? The Phelps name has been redeemed?
I helped defray the cost of the repairs. It's a long story.
Your debacle with the $60,000 girl might be a signal of sorts, Diggs. Kind of a beacon to seek safe harbor and drop anchor. Guide your vessel from love's storm-tossed sea.
The cash infusion really has you waxing today, doesn't it?
Yes. Still, there might be a sunken treasure of truth in there somewhere.
Shoot me a flare if you find it, or rather if the school of thought you're fishing for appears on your depth finder.
Have a meaningful lunch, Diggs, and consider what I'm saying.
About my net cost per poontang unit?
Nothing is lost on you, is it?
Only a little cash from time to time. Budding bougainvillea vines clung to the arbor surrounding the thick twin wooden doors of the 2-story stucco building, home of the San Francisco Yacht Club for nearly 100 years. Standing at the entrance, I waited as a flurry of white-coated waiters and relaxed guests glided past the glass wall of the second-floor dining room, overlooking the gate.
Hello, Digby.
Alicia Miranda Kincaid St. Alwyn called to me as she arrived for our first meal together.
I hope I haven't kept you waiting.
The rear door of the town car was held open by an elderly driver in jacket and cap. He tipped his brim and offered his hand for her entrance into my life. Not a bit. She would always be late, and I would never care. You are a perfect match for this beautiful day.
She was. Her eyes were icy and aloof. She was wearing a light peach linen ensemble that lit her creamy skin and auburn hair.
She looked like $1 million. 140.2, actually, according to Schroeder. I have learned, for reasons of self-protection, to ignore heads turned my way. The admiring glances, however, that trailed in Alicia's wake were an entirely different sort. I found myself standing a tad straighter, smiling a few degrees warmer, especially in the yacht club, particularly since the blaze.
I was last here. Alicia smiled as the waiter slid the menu gently on the table and stepped away. When I was 16, and Daddy brought me to a luncheon to meet my future stepmother.
I think the renovation came out well, eventually.
Oh, I had forgotten. The Christmas gala fire.
There is a belief in certain circles, Alicia, that I may have caused it. So, her eyes widened. A panatella, a pinata, a few pisco punches. I gave generously to the rebuilding.
How embarrassing that must have been for you, she giggled.
It made both papers as well.
Poor Digby Phelps. Did they at least name a banquet room for you? The barbecue patio, as it were.
Never had my life story been as fascinating as that afternoon with Alicia. We began with glasses of Kier and my arduous toils in the investment vineyards for Schroeder Capital Limited. By the time the salmon arrived, I had single-handedly won all city with my famous fastball and was about to escape to college back east. If I was being probed as future spouse material, it was painless.
Alicia, in turn, was Episcopalian, an only child, shortly married once upon a time, charmed and charming.
We celebrated our delight in each other with a glass of sherry, laughing as the amber light from the crystal mixed with the slanting sunlight swirled upon the white linen. Holding hands, we walked side by side through the nearly empty dining room, the maitre d' thanking us by name and sending his best wishes to Alicia's father. The driver brought the car around to where we stood amidst the grove, breathing deeply of the mentholated air, rich with eucalyptus and the salt tang of the sea. Kissing her hand, I held the door for her and waved to the car before turning to meander among the docks. I inhaled her perfume as we lightly kissed, dreamily accepting her invitation to supper in the opera the following evening. Opera? Hand-kissing? As I turned to head back to the club, a 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo pulled up. Normally the sight of such a car sent thrills through my body, but as the window rolled down, the thrills turned to chills.
Detective Tufts leaned over and smiled. Going for a scotch now?
That was exactly what I was planning to do. Yes, was all I could muster.
He waved and drove off.
How the hell did he know I wanted a scotch? And where did he get those cars? I went back to the club and ordered exactly what Detective Tufts suggested. A scotch. Sipping slowly, I was staring at the bay when the maitre d' spotted me.
Mr. Phelps, I didn't realize you were still here. Your office called about a half hour ago, and I'm afraid that I told them you had left. Didn't you hear the boy paging you?
The barman called the taxi, toured another, and left me to ponder until the cabbie stuck his head in the door, blinking in the low light. Back to the real world. Chapter 6.
I wish I could tell you what this is about,
Schroeder said as I entered his office.
but I honestly have no idea. Oscar tried to get a hold of you at your lunch, but you had already left. Anyway, I talked to Alfonso before he flew out from New York.
He's changed his mind on the deal? Already?
No, thank God. That's what I was afraid it was. He's very happy about getting the unit. No, it's a smaller problem.
Well, what is it?
He wants you to know there was something wrong, as he put it, about the gift that he gave you. He wants you to keep it intact, to use his term, until he sees us again and can replace it.
This is more than a small problem.
He said words to the effect there was something wrong with the load that it came from. Jesus, some of these people talk about money like it comes in bales, like hay.
Eric, you know I have no idea where that particular bale could be right now.
Yeah, I know, he bit his lip. Look, Diggs, you have to get that money back. Pronto.
Well, Eric, I can try, but I can't see that I'll be able to find her. And if I can, damn.
Can try and can't see, Schroeder said, aren't going to do it. I think it looks a little funny.
Funny?
Funny like phony. So there's more at stake here than your missing moolah and wounded pride, Diggs.
What's going on here, Eric?
Alfonso has widespread interest. Come on, Diggs. You introduced us. He's good business. He gives us a hand, we give him a hand.
Meaning? I already knew the answer.
Meaning we are about to swing the deal of our lives with Goldtown. We're looking at getting rich, Diggs. Just an aroma of shady doings will sink it out of sight. You know how this town likes to talk.
Yes, I know. And he knew I knew.
Not to mention the possibility of somebody going to jail over this.
Definitely not our style. I was biting my lip. Don't worry. We'll be okay.
We will be when you have that cash back. Don't be shy about involving Oscar. He can be very resourceful.
There's some phone numbers for me to check. I'll start there.
Let's be gentlemen when you find her. Hell, we'll replace it with better money. We shouldn't have to pay her face value, though. I think a discount would be in order. How did your lunch go?
Subject changed. Dinner at her place tomorrow night.
Digby. I am impressed.
We really hit it off.
Do you meet the folks tomorrow, too?
We're not quite at that stage yet, I said. Going to the opera, though.
We all have to make sacrifices in the pursuit, Diggs.
He picked up his phone. Our meeting was over.
Get that cash back, Phelps. One hint of scandal, and we'll disintegrate right along with Goldtown. The press would love to strangle this baby before it has a chance. Not to mention our more conservative banking brethren.
Got it.
Get it,
he said as I shut the door and slithered to my office. I didn't last long at the office. I seldom do. As soon as it was reasonable, I made my way to Le Bistro.
Gin and bitters, Mr. Phelps?
Ready when you are, Sammy. The dying afternoon light bounced off the scattered antique mirrors of Le Bistro, warming the biscuit leather banquets and exposed brick of the walls. An oil painting of the Champs-Élysées in the rain was reflected in the mirror of the back bar.
Talk around town, Digby, is that you fellas are gonna pull off this Goldtown dream of yours.
As always, Sammy, your sources are impeccable.
The local politicos are jumping on your bandwagon, aren't they? My retired brother lives up there in Dunphy's. Says everyone thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
They're very receptive, I nodded, half listening. Make me another, okay, Sammy?
That economy up there, he said as he placed the glass on the bar, has been dead since the original gold rush. I think you're onto a great thing. You eating today? Waiters ain't back for an hour, but I could scare you up some casoli.
No, thanks, just thinking.
Hope everything's all right with you. He was standing in front of me, smiling and polishing his wine glasses.
I met a woman, Sammy, and she has me thinking strange thoughts.
Sometimes I think my brother might have had the right idea. Loving wife, place in the country. Get away from all this. He waved his arms at our city.
Cabin in the mountains sounds damn inviting today.
Don't forget the loving wife part.
He silently made another drink for me.
Do you mind if I speak as a friend, Mr. Phelps?
Please, Sammy, I'd appreciate it.
Well, you know your dad and me go back. He started wiping a spotless glass. So I guess I feel I have a sort of interest in you.
Fire away, Sammy.
It's just that you and Mr. Schroeder really are different types of men, Digby. I know you don't think so, but you are.
I'm sure we are.
And there's no use you ever wanting to be his type. He chose another perfectly clear glass. That's all.
Thanks, Sammy. I waited for the rest of it.
These guys, he held the glass up to the twilight from the window, that are always devising angles, well, sooner or later, they always get snagged on one. See what I mean?
I do, Sammy. As clear as the glass he was holding.
How's your old man? He asked, relieved.
I just got a postcard from Aruba. He'll be cruising the South Pacific in May.
There's a guy that knows how to live. They really hired him to entertain the ladies on those boats?
Yeah, Sammy. Gentlemen hosts, they're called. No serious affairs allowed, though.
Well, he rolled his eyes. There's all kinds of romance. No marrying. That's the important policy, I'd imagine.
Dear old Dad says he's safe from gardening forever.
Good for him.
Sammy reached under the bar to retrieve his snifter of brandy so we could raise a glass to my father.
Alicia lived on the top floor of Museum Square Towers, in an immense corner apartment facing east to the bay, with wide tiled terraces thick with plantings.
The builders of Museum Square Tower were the first to reclaim a central chunk of the colorful and cruddy Skid Row area well before the trendy crowd caught on. Receiving an easement from the city for their daring do, they piled the granite-sheathed tower up to 14 floors. 13, if you didn't count the huge atrium lobby, well beyond the original limit.
Hello, Digby. She smiled warmly at the door. Her eyes glowed with seeming promises of sweet secrets to soon be revealed. Come in and meet my father and stepmom. We thought we'd have an impromptu supper tonight.
Placing her arm around my waist, she guided me through a gallery of small paintings, land and seascapes in elegant old frames, to the spacious open white and glass living room. Within seconds, I was shaking the hand of a leathery, bald man in a blue blazer, accepting a martini from a woman in a white apron, and standing at the polished steel rail of the balcony with an amused Alicia in a little black dress.
Drink your drink, and then I'll join you in one.
She gave me a happy peck in the cheek.
It's veal tonight from Avanti. I'll be right back.
Italian opera, Italian food,
Her father said, joining me.
You'd think we were a bunch of Dagos.
Less deadly than Wagner and Wiener Schnitzel. I smiled. He was a self-made man. That was what every press release had ever told me about Brockton, Rock, St. Olwyn. And if it wasn't true, it seldom is, I was still willing to defer to the publicist's fees that had accrued over the years.
We thought we'd have an impromptu supper together,
The woman said, grasping my hand in a firm greeting. Too many impromptus to be impromptu, after all.
Italian veal and Italian opera.
Less deadly than Wagner and Wiener Schnitzel, Rock threw in.
Oh, Daddy, Alicia chuckled.
Did he steal that line from you?
Emily Kincaid St. Aldwyn peered at me. This stepmother was an eagle-eyed, hawk-nosed, raven-haired, sparrow-thin predator in a classic Chanel suit and pearls. She was real money, Kincaid paper, and held her own when few women dared to. I liked her immediately.
Phelps Buick on Van Ness, wasn't it? Rock surmised. The veal had been superb.
Yes, where Symphony Hall is, I said. He still flies in for opening night. The perverse image of dear old Dad in an opera gave me a glow.
Not retired, I hope. I believe it's essential that a man stay involved.
Oh, he's very much involved.
What does he do? Emily cut to it.
Ocean exploration. Deep sea stuff. Sorry, Pops.
Not sunken treasure, Rock asked.
It wouldn't surprise me. I try not to pry.
Very wise, Emily agreed. Sometimes it's as if the children become the parents and the parents become the children.
Not a concern in my father's case.
You're putting together that Gold Town craziness, aren't you?
Schroeder is, yes. I work in developing clientele.
Lining up the money, huh?
Digby's being modest. It's really quite a good development for the area.
Jobs?
Absolutely.
Where is it going to be exactly, Digby?
The foothills near Sonora and Dunphy's.
Too late to get a piece of it?
Not your cup of tea, dear.
Why not?
Too late, yes. We're fully subscribed. Thank God.
There. You see?
Are you holding a groundbreaking ceremony, Digby?
That's a wonderful idea, Alicia.
Why not my cup of tea?
You mind your wine ventures.
I have something for you to look into, young man. You know those bird brains from Vancouver? Hell,
Digby's much too busy, Daddy.
To make money, are you, Digby?
Well, we're always interested in...
There, you see. Hardly had to twist his arm, did I?
Where at sea is your father, Digby? Have you been to the Great Barrier Reef? Alicia asked.
She loves to dive, this daughter of mine. Got it from Rodney. Don't tell me you're a friend of his.
Who? I asked.
Her first husband.
Her only husband, Rock.
So far, her only, you mean.
Daddy, let's not make Digby.
You married?
Who?
You.
No, never.
Nothing against girls, is it?
Daddy, honestly.
He doesn't mind, do you, Digby?
No, I love women.
All women?
That's not what he meant, I'm sure.
One woman, one at a time, that is. One if you were...
One good one is all a man needs.
That's right, sweetie. And don't you forget it.
Her ex-husband didn't, like women, that is. That was the problem.
Daddy, it was a little more complicated than that.
Well, that would pose a problem.
Rodney Hazlitt. You've heard of him?
The famous philanthropist?
Old New York family.
The famous homo, you mean?
Rock.
Daddy?
Seems I did read something somewhere.
She didn't know.
We hadn't any idea.
He didn't know either.
Didn't seem to keep him from giving it a shot.
Daddy, be fair. We're still friends.
Never trusted that friendship stuff. If you're getting divorced, you damn well better be enemies. If you're friends, why are you getting divorced?
Well, it's different in Ali's case, Rock.
Nothing queer about you, is there, Digby?
No, sir, never felt the urge. How about you?
That's rich, Alicia. I like your young man, dear.
That's not funny. It's an evil pursuit, you know.
Tell him about the vineyard, Rock.
I have an opportunity to buy back St. Alwyn wines from those half-assed Canadians. I have to tell you about it.
Here we are, Daddy. Try the tart. It's apricot.
The morning fog was breaking as we glided toward the Sierras in Eric's giant Mercedes. Oscar was driving. Eric and I sat in the back seat.
First things first, Diggs,
Eric said to me. I was happy to put off the second lurking on the agenda.
There should be a great crowd. Most of the locals were eager to put on the dress overalls, gas up the truck, and get down to the high school gym. Joni's ordered hot dogs and sodas, even T-shirts with a Gold Town logo.
Sounds elegant.
Snob. You do your overview of the attractions and rides, then I'll give them my inspiring and inspired capitalism goes country benediction. Shouldn't run longer than an hour.
Shall we raffle off a prize pig at the conclusion?
How about we pick a Miss Gold Town? All expense weekend in Las Vegas for the winner. You can chaperone.
Alicia wouldn't approve.
You scare me when you do that.
I like to try it on for size. See how it feels.
How does it feel?
Frighteningly promising. Almost normal.
Speaking of scary subjects.
He turned from the window and looked me in the eye.
I'm having nightmares about your phony 60 grand showing up. Did your playmate ever fly off to Japan?
My phony 60 grand?
Well, it sure as hell wasn't mine.
I looked up to the rearview mirror in time to see Oscar's eyes dart to the road with renewed attention. I'm still hoping she's left our shores.
Sounds like you're counting on it.
I was.
Diggs, you were a marked man the minute that broad laid eyes on you.
Bristling at the evidence and the fact that Eric is entirely capable of being a prick, I insisted on telling myself that I was not a sucker and she was not a con artist. Are we sure all the bills were bad?
Very. Alfonso was painfully clear on the point, in a circumspect way. God, Peruvians.
Don't you mean Germans?
Them too.
I'm thinking she's split.
Quit depending on your overworked luck and do something, Diggs.
Eric's cologne enveloped me. I needed some air.
You're dragging your feet, and we're sitting on a gold mine up here.
Look, I tracked down 6 of the gym members with the name she was using. Talked to them on the telephone. I can safely rule them out as knowing her. Dick Tracy reporting.
And number 7?
The car dealer in the city. He's been out of town the last 2 weeks.
That should be right up your alley. You know how those guys talk.
He didn't make it sound like a compliment.
When's he due back?
Tomorrow, his office said.
Think he knows her?
He might. He has a Chrysler store, and she was driving a new one.
Her car's still at your place?
No, the Sausalito cops finally came and towed it away. They said it had been stolen in the city.
Did you talk to them?
Only to say that I didn't know anything about it.
No more carping from me today, Diggs. But take Oscar with you to that car dealer's tomorrow. He was a Marine, all right?
I should have known better.
Don't mope. It wasn't intentional. Alfonso insisted he had no idea, and we have to believe him. After all, the $1 million was a wire transfer. I can't see him piddling around with 60 grand in funny money, especially to throw it away.
Especially to throw away on me, you mean?
Let's not personalize this thing.
The idea of going to jail is very personal to me, I pointed out.
Diggs, just get back the dough, and we can all relax.
I'll try and find her, I said. I just don't know where to look beyond the last Stafford name.
Oscar, give Digby a hand with this, will you?
Absolutely.
He said it the way I do.
That's the spirit.
Eric stretched out and shut his eyes.
I'm no longer aware of any of this. Agreed?
We'll handle it,
Oscar said from behind the wheel. Semper Fi suddenly had a new meaning.